By the 1970s, Pi Kappa Phi recognized that in order to prosper in a changing world, the fraternity would have to provide more opportunities for its members to better themselves and the world around them. As the fraternity began to debate an avenue for its members to commit to a meaningful service project, Durward Owen met a young North Carolina graduate named Thomas Sarr. In 1976, Sarr was working at the Western Carolina Center in Morgantown, North Carolina, building custom-made playgrounds for children with disabilities. Durward was impressed by Thomas and thought this concept could be one of value to communities across the country. As members flocked in record numbers to attend the popular 1977 Supreme Chapter in New Orleans, brothers voted to adopt Sarr's project and approve the creation of PUSH, and an acronym that stood for Play Units for the Severely Handicapped. Over the next several years, the organization would go through a handful of name changes and is known today as Push America. In creating Push America, Pi Kappa Phi gave its members a cause and an opportunity to live our ritual in a hands-on way. As students slowly began the task of fundraising to support the production of the accessible playgrounds by Thomas Sarr, Pi Kappa Phi became the first fraternity to found its own philanthropy organization. In 1979, 93 chapters and more than 700 spouses and guests gathered once again in Charleston to celebrate the fraternity's 75th anniversary. South Carolina's Governor Jim Edwards and U.S. Senator Howard Baker of Tennessee welcomed attendees at the Black Tie Gala and later led a procession of brothers through the streets of Charleston on a candlelight vigil. In addition to donating 75 rose bushes to the College of Charleston, the fraternity also marked the anniversary with the creation of the Pi Kappa Phi Hall of Fame. Pulitzer Prize-winning author Thomas Wolfe, Kappa, UNC Chapel Hill, World Series champion Joe Sewell, Omicron, Alabama, and Senator Howard Baker, Alpha Sigma, Tennessee, were all welcomed as the Hall of Fame's inaugural inductees. In 1983, Pi Kappa Phi created the Archon Vice Archon Conference, which was held in Charlotte, North Carolina, to train chapter leaders on how to lead meetings, motivate members, host a successful recruitment, and support Push America. Within 2 years, attendance at the event required the addition of a second location in St. Louis. This conference would later grow to become the Mid-Year Leadership Conference members are familiar with today, which is held in 4 cities and attended by 1,400 officers and chairmen each year. Later that same year, the fraternity honored one of its most well-known members, as Randy Owen of the Delta Epsilon chapter at Jacksonville State was welcomed to the Pi Kappa Phi Hall of Fame. In addition to proudly wearing his letter shirt on the band's 1987 album cover for Just Us, the Grammy Award-winning lead singer of Alabama also played benefit concerts for Push America in the early days of the organization. By the mid-1980s, Pi Kappa Phi had become the fastest-growing fraternity in the country. A large part of the fraternity's growth was on the West Coast, as the fraternity welcomed chapters at Cal State Sacramento, Cal State Northridge, and Cal State Fullerton. Though the fraternity grew rapidly throughout the country, the addition of these chapters helped to solidify the fraternity's presence in the West. In 1987, a young alumnus from Stetson University named Bruce Rogers embarked on a daunting cycling journey across the country in an effort to bring more attention to the mission of Push America. Inspired by Rogers' inaugural trip, a 21-person team organized by Jim Karlovic, a student at Bowling Green State University, cycled as the first official Journey of Hope team in 1988. Today, members of Pi Kappa Phi cycle from the West Coast to Washington, D.C. to raise awareness for Push America. The Journey of Hope raises over $500,000 annually. In 1992, as brothers gathered for the 43rd Supreme Chapter in Naples, Florida, Durward Owen announced that he would retire after 35 years as executive director. 2 years later at Supreme Chapter in Atlanta, the fraternity would pass legislation recognizing Durward as the honorary fourth founding father of Pi Kappa Phi. During his time at the helm, Durward helped welcome more than 100 chapters, revolutionized the way fraternities viewed service and risk management, and took Pi Kappa Phi from a fledgling fraternity to a leader in the fraternity world. As the fraternity thanked its longtime leader, the National Council selected a new executive director to lead Pi Kappa Phi. Mark E. Timmies, an alumnus of the Alpha Epsilon chapter at Florida and a past staff member, was chosen. Timmies had worked as an attorney in South Florida for many years, but felt drawn to heed the call of the fraternity as Durward stepped into retirement. Throughout the 1990s, risk management would become a major theme in the development of the fraternity. As brothers began to see the need to create codes of conduct to encourage accountability, a conversation arose around the divisive subject of banning alcohol from chapter houses. Though passionate arguments were presented on both sides, attendees at the 1998 Supreme Chapter in Chicago rejected the idea of dry housing. However, along with that decision, Pi Kappa Phi began to develop and provide personal education to chapter members to encourage healthy decision-making. As the fraternity prepared to close out the 20th century, the University of Southern Mississippi would become the last chapter chartered in the 1900s. Soon after the new millennium rolled in, Pi Kappa Phi continued to welcome chapters at West Georgia, Florida International, and the University of Kansas. With the turn of the millennium, the fraternity also saw the creation of new philanthropic programs. In 2002, Push America developed Build America, a 6-week summer event that helps create accessible amenities at summer camps across the country. Build America is recognized by many as the most in-depth experience in advocating for and interacting with people with disabilities. It wasn't long before the fraternity began preparing for its centennial celebration, which would be held in Charleston, South Carolina. In the 100 years since the 7 men who were loyal to Nu Phi created Pi Kappa Phi, the bonds of brotherhood had touched the lives of nearly 95,000 men. Over the course of a century, the fraternity became more than just a grip, a badge, and a house. It became a place where boys grew into men, where lifelong friendships were born, and where character was strengthened. In August 2004, 1,300 Pi Kappa Phis and guests flocked to Charleston, and as the newly christened Centennial Bell Tower tolled, it rang to honor Pi Kappa Phi's heritage and welcome in a second century of brotherhood. Since 2004, Pi Kappa Phi has continued its rapid growth. From 2004 to 2013, the fraternity body has grown from 127 chapters and 5,649 undergraduates to more than 170 chapters, and for the very first time, 10,000 undergraduate members. As new chapters were born on campuses from Washington State to Iowa, UMass to Arizona State, RIT to Wyoming, brothers have continued to strive to bring credit to Pi Kappa Phi.